Fun at Iowa State parks. Camping, hiking, swimming, or just plain relaxing. All are outdoor fun afforded by your park user permit. And money from your permit will make state parks better than ever. Stick it on your window and stick with Iowa. Just for the fun of it.
This is your TV station, 5TV.
There is now a danger that has become a threat to us all.
AIDS will kill thousands of people all over the world this year.
There is no cure for AIDS, but there can be prevention.
And in the fight against the virus, condoms are the first-line defense.
Det finns nämligen bara 2 sätt att skydda sig mot smitta. Det bästa...
But how effective are they if you can't tell enough people about them?
This is a box of Trojans. Use it in good health.
Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline.
The best protection against the infection right now, barring abstinence, is the use of a condom.
Condoms can save lives, but those who want to publicize and encourage their use are meeting sharp resistance.
Religious issue, it's a moral issue, and broadcasters have said, hey, don't think the public is ready for it yet.
That's our story tonight.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
For some, it's an important breakthrough. A television station in Indianapolis today became the second out of some 900 commercial stations in the United States to announce it will accept advertising for condoms. The first station in San Francisco made its announcement only last week. In both cases, the action was linked to concern about the spread of AIDS. Also in both cases, there were conditions. WRTV in Indianapolis says it will accept condom advertising only for use after 11:30 p.m. and only if the commercial message deals with preventing the spread of disease. KRON in San Francisco says it will donate profits from such commercials to AIDS research and will require advertisers to make a matching donation. But despite those conditions, despite the stated good intentions, there are many who look upon TV advertising for condoms not as a breakthrough, but as a serious mistake. Here's John McKenzie with the arguments on both sides.
Anything else?
How about some rubbers?
This is one scene many Americans remember only too well.
Pardon?
I understand that you carry them.
Carry what?
Oh, come on, you know what?
Contraceptives.
Yeah, right.
Condoms, rubbers, safes, it didn't matter what you called them. Calling for them was embarrassing. And it didn't help any that states considered them so offensive that they had to be hidden in drugstores.
Can't flash them around.
In 1977, though, the Supreme Court ruled that condoms could be displayed openly. They came out of the drawer and into respectability. Today, many shoppers see them as just one more health and beauty aid.
Once in a while, you'll find somebody who's a little shy and will back off and do it quietly. But for the most part, they come in and it's like anything else. They stand at the counter and where they buy a toothbrush or a bag of toothpaste, the condom is just another commodity.
Simple and safe, the condom is the most popular contraceptive you can get without a prescription. Americans buy 800,000 a day. Last year, sales increased 5%. Now, there's reason for still more people to buy them. AIDS.
The best protection against the infection right now, barring abstinence, is the use of a condom. A condom should be used during sexual relations from start to finish with anyone who you are not absolutely sure is free of the AIDS virus.
Americans are rapidly learning that AIDS is not just a homosexual disease, that almost anyone is vulnerable. Indeed, 15% of condom buyers today are women.
No matter what other form of birth control was involved, I'd definitely use a condom as well.
If the girl asked me to wear one, I probably would.
I used condoms. I don't feel great about it, but I know that it's the safest way to have sex.
In New York City, 20,000 people are expected to die from AIDS within the next 5 years. This week on subways here, the city is posting banners encouraging the use of condoms.
We need to get this information out in every way that we can, in a sensitive way, in a way that's appropriate to the audience and the medium, but we need to get this message out.
I'm sorry, I cannot accept that.
To the Catholic Church, condoms are still contraceptives. They are still forbidden.
To advertise that which we consider to be inherently immoral, obviously we're opposed to that. I think the real answer to this is don't get involved in a sexual activity outside of marriage. That's the answer.
On this issue, church and state are sharply divided. Caught in the middle are the media. Carter Wallace, the largest of the condom companies, is launching the biggest advertising campaign in the product's history. 52 magazines and newspapers have agreed to run the ads, a first for many of these family publications. Others, however, steadfastly refuse. An even bigger battle is being waged over the airwaves.
You might know someone pretty well, but do you really know him? He had a life before he met you. The thing is, you're vulnerable.
While several cable companies accepted this ad, the three major networks refused it. They also refused any interviews for this report. Their policy is not to advertise contraceptives of any kind. So now local television stations are being approached, and almost all of them are rejecting the commercials. In Boston, Jim Coppersmith is the general manager of station WCVB.
I don't think that the city of Boston, in this New England market which we serve, is ready for or wants to have contraceptive advertising on the air.
How can you make that statement? I mean, what do you base that on?
Well, who's going to make it? The Tooth Fairy? I mean, I'm in charge of the station, and I live here, and I make my living here, and that's one of my responsibilities. In the end, I make it based upon my brain and my gut.
Times are changing in this country. We've been in this field of sex research for 30 years, and the one thing we've noticed above all else is increased comfort with the subject.
Faren for å bli smittet reduseres betraktelig.
That, it seems, is what Europeans are discovering. Several countries, including Britain and Norway, are now broadcasting paid ads or public service announcements.
If you must sleep with more than one partner, you must wear a condom. Because if you do get AIDS, what can the doctors do to save you?
Back in this country, what bothers many people is that television seems to have a double standard when it comes to sex.
Well, certainly if you look at other material that the networks show, both commercial advertising and programming material, much of this is much stronger in sexual content and tone than any tastefully done advertising of condoms would be.
This commercial was produced for one purpose, and that purpose is to create revenues for a corporation which is interested in selling its product. This commercial was not created to save the world from the scourge of AIDS.
Several television executives we spoke to predicted that eventually condom commercials will be accepted in this country, but it's just a matter of time. But health officials say, considering how rapidly the AIDS epidemic is spreading, time is not something the public can afford. This is John McKenzie for Nightline.
When we come back, we'll talk with Harry Britt, a city official from San Francisco. He strongly endorses media advertising for condoms. And we'll be talking with Kathleen Sullivan, the head of a Chicago-based group that believes the answer to the AIDS epidemic is abstinence, not prophylactics.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Ralston Purina.
Is surrounded by cows. Cows get very upset when you eat Chex brand cereals without milk. After all, Chex was designed to hold milk. Look, milk! So don't eat Chex without the milk.
That's the way it is, and will always be. I lean on you, you lean on me.
Purina Dog Chow brand, a dog food you can lean on.
This baby will blow the doors off anything on the road, just like a BMW.
Isn't she a beauty? BMW would build one like this.
You think BMW has advanced technology? Listen to this.
Your door is open.
Huh?
For about $22,000, you can own a BMW 325. Or the hollow feeling of having settled for less.
They told me don't
no chance of a radiation leak.
I'm sure they believe what they told you.
I'll remember that when I'm dying of leukemia.
This radiation thing has to be kept very hush-hush.
There are hundreds of people working there. Do you want to put them all out of work?
It's better than killing them.
If Dr. Gates gets canned because of your politics, I'll go with him, and I'll take every doctor on this staff with me.
Trapper John, weekday afternoons at 3 on 5 TV.
Iowa believes in education, and Iowa believes in you. Education beyond high school is expensive, but that shouldn't keep you from going. If you are thinking about attending a college, a university, a vocational, technical, or proprietary institution in the fall, apply for financial aid now. Check with the financial aid office at the school of your choice to get application material. Many schools have priority deadlines. Apply today for your education for tomorrow.
Thursday, a new method of treating back pain helped Joe Montana play again. Those same techniques could help you.
Watch 2020.
Thursday.
Joining us now in our Chicago bureau is Kathleen Sullivan, head of a Chicago-based group known as the Committee on the Status of Women, which opposes advertising condoms. Ms. Sullivan has obtained federal funding for a sex education program designed to teach children to say no to premarital sex. The program is now being tested in 15 Midwestern schools. With us in our San Francisco bureau is Harry Britt, a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, who has been urging local broadcasters to accept advertising from condom manufacturers. Now, Ms. Sullivan, explain to me, if you would, what you perceive to be the difference between the moral stance and what I would prefer to describe as the hygienic stance. In other words, morally, maybe it is perfectly correct to teach children not to engage in premarital sex, but from a hygienic point of view, we have to accept the notion that they do. Now, are you going to ignore that?
Certainly not, and I don't think they can be separated at all. And our program is focusing in on what the problems are, not only physically, but emotionally damaging by children, adolescents, and for that matter, anybody being promiscuous today. This epidemic, this national health problem that we have is a very serious life and death matter. And I think it is fooling the public, both as preventive medicine as well as those who are infected with the dread disease AIDS. It's fooling them to make them think at all that condoms are really going to solve the problem.
Well,
that's the problem.
Forgive me, no one is suggesting that they are going to solve the problem, but I think it is being suggested in rather strong terms that condoms are going to inhibit the problem.
But not nearly to the degree that I think needs to be done. And
what are we arguing about? What are we arguing about? 1%, 10%, 5%, 50%? At which point does it become worthwhile?
Well, the real thing we're arguing about, and I was in touch with Dr. Coote's office today, by the way, and they have authorized me to say that they stand completely behind asking the industry of the media and television particularly that an emphasis ought to be put on public service announcements and in programming on teaching abstinence. For instance, I think the clip we saw earlier was really out of context.
Which clip? Where Dr. Koop says, you know, next to abstinence. I mean, he clearly says abstinence is the first and the best way of doing it. Next to abstinence, he said condoms are the best.
Right, and he wants to emphasize that, in fact, the industry ought to clean up their own act. The 9,000 sensual scenes that were on television last year that even Planned Parenthood accuses you of, I think could easily be improved by getting rid of them. And that would help, to have this promiscuousness going on.
I'll tell you what, as much as I would like to continue just talking to you one-on-one, we have another guest here, Harry Britt, and I'd be interested, Mr. Britt, in hearing your reaction. Some of the points that Ms. Sullivan makes clearly are well worth making. And what is abstinence would solve the problem, would it not?
People have been preaching abstinence, Ted, for centuries and for millennia. The fact is, people are engaging in sexual activity. There are people out there right now watching this show engaging in sexual activity, and Ms. Sullivan is saying, quit what you're doing, it's wrong. What I am saying is, if you love that person that you're speaking about love to, don't risk his or her life. No one believes that advertising condoms on networks is the answer to the AIDS epidemic. every medical authority that I know, from Dr. Koop on down, believes that the only thing that stands between us and the loss of hundreds of thousands of lives is an effective information campaign, and the National Institute of Sciences has put the use of condoms as the first and most important element in that campaign.
No, but there again, you're implying that Dr. Koop believes that the first thing ought to be condoms, and he doesn't. He insists that the first thing ought to be the teaching of abstinence, particularly to our young people. And this is where the confusion lies. And I think it's up to the media industry, particularly television, to accurately quote Dr. Koop and really the vast majority of people.
Ms. Sullivan, we can't, hold on just a second. We didn't quote him. We put him on the air. That was a piece of videotape you saw there. That's precisely what he said. Now, I think the reason, forgive me, let me finish my question to you. Because the reason I think we're having a little bit of disagreement here right now is not over the question of whether abstinence is superior to the use of condoms, but over the question that Mr. Britt raises and that I raised a moment ago, and that is, let's face the world as it is. People engage in extracurricular sexual activities, and that is causing AIDS, and the use of condoms could inhibit that spread of AIDS.
Well, I'd agree to let's face it the way it is. Therefore, I disagree with Mr. Britt saying that for centuries people have been doing this. We haven't had the dread disease of AIDS for centuries. It's a brand new fear. And I think really that a lot of people are going to stop being promiscuous because of that fear. And that's why we ought to concentrate on the fact that the only healthy answer is abstinence, right, again, particularly with our youth.
Mr. Britt, we've got to take a break, but let me give you a chance to come back.
Well, I get a sense that we're going to be talking about morality tonight, and that's all right with me, but the overriding point that's coming through, again, not just from the Surgeon General, but from every single medical authority involved in the AIDS fight, is that if you're going to be moral when people are dying by the tens of thousands, the first thing you have to do is respond to the pain of those people whose lives are at risk. And I hope that as Ms. Sullivan continues to argue about the virtues of abstinence, that she will not be insensitive to the urgency of using every method, whether it's increased calls for abstinence, advertising condoms, or any other method that will allow our children to grow to maturity without going through the kind of anguish that already tens of thousands of young Americans have had to face in the AIDS epidemic.
We're going to have to take a break. The buck in this particular case stops on the desks of media executives who must make a decision whether or not to carry advertising for condoms. And when we come back, we'll talk with one of those executives who has made his decision, Jim Coppersmith, general manager of Boston television station WCVB.
Here's the smorgasburger! Crispy chopped cheese and chicken. Mix the grind of beef or liver. Then we mix it all together. Now you got the smorgasburger.
Smorgasburger from Kettle Ration. It's like a smorgasbord in a bowl.
The perfect microwave ovenware is durable and makes the most of microwave energy. It comes in every size, shape, and style you need. The perfect microwave ovenware is Microwave Brand by Anchor Hawking.
You're on your way.
Kids and science can really get together in the right kind of place. So Dow has developed and funded the Touch Tech Laboratory here at Impression 5 in Lansing, Michigan.
In this particular experiment, we're going to make a solid out of two liquids.
It's a hands-on museum that puts the wonders of science at a child's fingertips.
Here you go, PJ.
And who knows what that could lead to.
Dow lets you do great things.
I can't keep coming up with dumb headaches. What am I supposed to do?
Sleep with it. Next, on Dynasty.
I have you to thank for saving my father's life.
Glad I was able to help, Michael.
But there is one more favor I'd like to ask of you. From now on, stay away from my wife.
Helen's alive?
Yes, she's at Jason Colby's house in Los Angeles. She's suffering from amnesia.
She needs me, Blake.
We've got to follow doctor's orders on this. She's in very fragile condition.
Dynasty, weekday mornings at 11 on 5 TV.
Given the choice, all of us would prefer to stay in our own homes for as long as possible. But when we are ill and can no longer perform certain tasks, we may need help to remain there. Home Care Plus provides that help, offering daily delivery of meals, personal health care services, home management, and respite care. Formerly Home Health Aid and Mobile Meals, the name has changed, but the major goal is still to provide high-quality, affordable care to anyone in need. Home Care Plus, quality service for over 24 years.
Katie remembers the day she won a local skating competition, and she gets better and better because she tries harder and harder. Maybe Katie wants to prove that nothing can stop her, not even epilepsy. Like most people with epilepsy, Katie is getting the treatment that lets her live the life she wants to live. With a little help and understanding, Katie's doing just great. Get the facts about epilepsy. Call the Epilepsy Foundation of America, 1-800-EFA-1000.
1939, the World's Fair promises marvels in the future. The Nazis invade Poland, and Europe prepares for war. Watch Our World Thursday.
Our European allies seem to disagree with us on our nuclear and terrorism policies. Tomorrow is NATO with it. Also, Ted Williams tomorrow on Good Morning America.
Joining us now from our affiliate WVUE in New Orleans is Jim Coppersmith, who is Vice President and General Manager of WCVB, the ABC affiliate in Boston. Jim, you feel differently about commercial ads than you do about public service announcements on the subject, right?
I do. I don't disagree with the Surgeon General at all. I endorse what he says, that next to abstinence, a condom is the best way to prevent the spread of AIDS. But I think in this great television industry of ours, if every television station in the United States did a primetime special on the issue, and all of the three networks addressed it through programming and followed up on it through public affairs and public service, there wouldn't be a man, woman, or child in this nation who wouldn't be properly educated, and I think that would take care of the problem. Donahue did an hour on it today. You're doing a half an hour on it right now. I think this can be handled through the broad spectrum of programming without jarring people by showing them commercials such as the ones we've seen tonight when they don't expect it.
Well, hold on just a second. When you say they don't expect it, I mean, for example, in the two television stations that I mentioned that have now decided to run these commercials, one of the conditions that they've put on it is that these commercials would not run until after 11:30 at night. Sure, there will still be some kids watching, but the fact of the matter is you have every right to expect that kind of commercial at that time of night. And fundamentally, what is the difference between a public service announcement that delivers the same message and the commercial that may even deliver it in a more influential fashion, and certainly will deliver it more frequently, because after all, we're all in the business of making money, except that you seem to have some squeezy feeling about the fact that someone's going to make money off this.
I don't have a squeezy feeling about the fact that someone is going to make money out of it. I do have a concern for my audience. One of the things that a general manager of a television station gets paid to do is to judge what the market he serves will stand for and will tolerate.
Jim, I understand that, but explain to me what the difference is between sending essentially the same message over your airwaves on a public service announcement, or tonight on WCVB. I assume you haven't canceled Nightline tonight. The message is going across. Your audience is going to handle it somehow, right?
Well, the difference is that when you do it through public affairs or public service or programming, you're not doing it for the profit motive. And that way it has the aura and the impact of something that is done clearly in the public interest.
So it is the money that makes you queasy about it?
Well, in a sense, yes. When putting that against that backdrop, yes. We would prefer to address this issue in our own way, and that clearly is our right.
All right, Mr. Britt, do you have any problem with that? If indeed the television stations of America and the networks of America were to commit themselves to doing a whole lot of public service programming and public affairs programming and news programming, as indeed we all are doing.
In popular time periods.
In popular time periods. Wouldn't that be enough, Mr. Britt?
Ted, I've cut a lot of public service announcements for a lot of good causes. I think it's extraordinarily naive to believe that public service announcements are going to stop an epidemic. There's one question I think that probably everybody out there wants somebody to ask Mr. Coppersmith, if I may. I think the American people are much more sophisticated than he gives them credit for, and that the programming of ABC, NBC, and CBS reflect that from the first soap opera in the morning to the last late movie. And yet, somehow, Mr. Coppersmith and people in his similar positions are willing to stand up to the Kathleen Sullivans of the world when it comes to There's standard primetime programming where people do turn on the TV set expecting to see sexuality. And yet when it comes to saving lives, then we hear all of this other stuff about the audience cannot handle that. I am very proud of KRN in San Francisco and for Indianapolis. If they will try it in Indianapolis, I wish he would have the same faith in the good people of Boston.
May I respond to that? I categorically reject that the implication that a 15-second commercial or a 30-second commercial is the savior and the be-all and the end-all to this problem. I'm in the television station business. I know the power of television. I know what we're able to accomplish in television when we set our hearts and minds to it. When the herpes thing came along, there wasn't a television station in the country that didn't do something about it, and the networks did things about it, and I think we got on top of that problem. And I think we can get on top of this problem, and we are going to deal with this problem in Boston, Massachusetts, but we're not for rent to anybody that comes along with a can of quarters. And I'm telling you that that is our decision to make, and we will make that decision based on how we see our responsibility and how we judge the community standards in our market.
Gentlemen, hold on just a second.
As a matter
of fact, Ms. Sullivan, I was just trying to interrupt him so we could get to you. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm really appalled at you gentlemen. You're basing your discussion on whether or not you're going to put on this contraceptive advertising, and particularly condoms. You ought to be really debating how much are you going to stress the how and why of abstinence. Our program, Sex Respect, is proving in the schools that we're in that this is what the children are responding to. They want to know the reasons how and why it's healthier for them not to be sexually active. And I think the responsibility of the companies using the public airwaves ought to be to get that message across. Let's debate how much resources, how much time is going to be put into getting that message across.
All right, I'll tell you
not whether or not you're going to give these people the false sense. Even Dr. Teresa Renshaw, who's from the American Association of Sex Educators, has warned that this is giving a false sense of security.
Ms. Sullivan, we're down to our last few seconds, so let me give the one representative, or at least the one who's a guest tonight, Jim Coppersmith, a chance to quickly respond. And Jim, we have less than half a minute.
I would hope we would never do anything on our television station or on our network that would encourage promiscuity. I recognize clearly that abstinence is the very best defense against AIDS. But we do live in a real world, and so long as we live in a real world, we're going to grapple with the problem with real-world solutions.
All right, I can
while at the same time reserving the right to run our television station.
I can promise you all one thing. I have no doubt that we will be back on this subject again, and maybe we will constitute the same panel. Thank you, Ms. Sullivan, Mr. Britt, Mr. Coppersmith. Appreciate you being with us. I'll be back in a moment.
At AT&T, not only do we use the latest technology, we invent it.
Scientists at AT&T Bell Laboratories invented the transistor and built the first electrical digital computer, which helped to make AT&T the most advanced and reliable long-distance network in the world.
Today, they're opening new frontiers with the use of lasers and photonics.
But we know that all this means very little without this.
David, you sound wonderful.
AT&T, the right choice.
Sometimes I wonder if people have a primal, instinctive craving for hamburgers. Something hot, juicy, and so utterly simple that you can eat it with your hands. You can eat it with your hands. I mean, I know people who don't eat burgers, but I'm not sure I trust them.
I practically live out of a suitcase. So I always call 800-221-2222 and make the quality choice for great lodging anywhere. Oh, Quality Inns always gives me a big, comfortable room. The service is impeccable at Clarion Hotels. And Comfort Inn saved me lots of dollars. Franks. Wherever you go, just call 800-221-2222 and you're all set, unless your luggage gets lost. This isn't Pittsburgh, is it?
Mark Matthew and 5 TV Sports have a sporting proposition for you. We'll give you everything a sports fan could want. The very best local sports reporting you're going to find. All the national results and feature profiles on coaches and players. All you need to do is tune in weeknights to 5 TV News. Mark and the 5TV sports team have the first results at 5 and the last word on the action at 10. 5 TV's bringing you your sports from around the world to your own backyard.
That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been Nightline. If you wish a printed transcript, please send $3 to Nightline Transcripts, 2 John Street, New York, New York 10038. Nightline is a presentation of ABC News.
Thursday. Is this for real?
You traitor! You sold us out!
The Colbys. And on 2020, Shirley MacLaine and Linda Evans are among her followers. Jay-Z Knight claims that a 35,000-year-old wise man speaks through her.
This is your TV station, 5TV.
You fellas have the guns all right, but you see, Corey has the gold.